What are the most important qualifications of an employee? I hear this question quite a lot, and I'm really surprised to hear it from recent graduates or people who are looking for internships. But at the same time, I completely understand that. Simply because career courses or courses related to recruitment and getting your first job aren't really all that common out there. And as a result, people really aim to get a job and land their first job or internship, but they're really hesitant to apply, or they don't know what the culture looks like, and they don't know how to prepare themselves, or what to kind of prepare for an interview, what sort of background is important, what sort of mindset or mentality is also important for that. And again, it's a really common problem, and I hear that a lot. But the actual answer for that, when it comes to kind of what are the best employees for a company or something, it really depends. And the main answer that I can probably sum up in a nutshell, the answer is the right culture fit. And I know that this doesn't really answer the question by itself, but the thing is that every single organization has its own culture. For some, it's really hardworking. For some, it's people who cause a lot of drama. For some, it's people following processes, or those who deal with, volunteering to different organizations, or people who are really obsessed with coffee or alcohol or something else. It's really, there's a certain vibe revolving around different organizations. And this is more or less what makes the company unique. Now, the difference is that some companies don't really understand that, and some companies don't recognize that, or they don't really embed that in their own job descriptions, meaning that they end up with the types of jobs that are really very shallow, the types of job descriptions like we are looking for team players and kind of hard workers and motivated employees, and kind of other folks who are really, generic chit chat in those job descriptions, right? So this is why culture fit is so important. You really, if you're looking for the right job, and that's what many experienced people do, because experienced people can really pick from dozens or even hundreds of jobs available out there. So those people usually try to look for a job based on the culture, based on their feedback, what they fight about, what their motto is, what their culture is, whether they, for example, support conferences or kind of some activities or products or projects or organizations and things like that. For us and for me, kind of in our organization, what really matters is kind of a small subset of 5 specific things. Number 1 is hard workers. We are not shy to share that. We are really hardworking. It's actually midnight right now, and we are a bunch of different people at the office, tackling various problems and doing some deployments. And this is kind of part of our culture. We try to solve problems in a timely manner. We try to over-deliver for our customers, and it's just part of our culture. We share that multiple times during an interview, and we've had people who just come in and say, well, this really sounds like a lot of work, and they just go out, and they go to a large corporation, right? Number 2 is aptitude for learning. So we try to be innovative, we try to be studying new technologies and kind of innovating in the space, and try to stay on top of everything and experiment, and are not afraid of taking risks in terms of research and development. So for us, this is important. For many organizations, I know lots of organizations that don't really care about learning. I know lots of organizations employing people who basically don't care about this, but learning is important for us, which is why this is also one of the questions we ask interviews, like, what do you usually learn, or like, what was the last thing you've learned, or what sort of books you read, or tutorials, or whatever it is, because again, it matters for us. Number 3 is proactiveness. We are a small team, processes are evolving over time. We do try to be engaged toward our clients, meaning that we want to deliver more, we want to come up with all sorts of ideas, we want to improve our process, but this works in both directions. So we don't want people who are just followers, we want people who really want to take responsibility of their actions, they want to take charge of specific activities and specific even projects or whatever it is. So this is really important. Again, it's not the end of the world if someone is not super proactive. We don't want aggressive people, but proactiveness by itself is very important for us. Number 4 is team players. It doesn't make sense hiring the top A player in the world if they can't work as a part of a team, because whatever you do, you're working as a part of a team. You have marketing people, developers, QAs, whatever it is, salespeople, delivery guys. in every single organization you have different types of people, and different departments have to talk with each other. You can't really just separate departments, each one working on its own in some form of a silo, in some form of a specific, again, silo that pretty much is isolated from everything else. It just doesn't make sense within an organization, meaning that you will end up with a lot of teamwork. So that's why it matters so much for us in particular. But then again, I've also seen lots of publishing companies, because we work with a lot of them. So they have teams of 40 writers and 5 editors, and then creative people, and they work pretty much independently. Some of them are remote companies, and nobody's really sharing or interacting with others. So teamwork is simply something that isn't really important to them. And that's completely fine, because it's just part of the culture. Number 5 is analytical thinking. We're trying to solve the types of problems that you can't necessarily find on Google, or you can't see in forums, you can't see in other sort of work directories or whatever it is, meaning that you really need to be proactively thinking and creating multidimensional areas of expertise and match them together and try to find patterns. And while we don't really deploy competitive programming interviews or something, analytical thinking is really important for us, because a process from receiving a problem to actually resolving the problem is a complex one that goes through multiple hoops, and we need to be able to connect the dots and try to build the right chain in order to get a problem solved. So a couple other things, especially for local people, we do have shishas at the office. So basically there are lots of water pipes here, and it's something that some of the people enjoy. Of course, it's not necessary, it's not mandatory or whatever it is. It's just something that's kind of part of our culture. We do celebrate after parties and whatnot in shisha bars as well. So it's just, again, part of the culture. So some people may feel kind of as a better fit if the organization was supporting something that they enjoy as a hobby or as an after work activity or something like that. We are also dog friendly. So we do have our dog Mara, who's our community manager, and we are also coffee friendly and deal with a bunch of other things and a bunch of other different types of coffee competitions, more or less, or something else that we need to do internally. Yeah, like I said, our dog is here right next to me. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So again, some organizations are really hardworking, others are relying less on this one. It's really up to the organization. That's why I usually suggest for people to get to know some other people from within the team and get to kind of understand what's the culture all about, what's happening behind the scenes, try to meet them at conferences or meetups or some other places, and based on that to kind of take the decision of whether this is a good place for them or not.